This is my interview with Whiting Tennis, a sculptor, painter, and musician. Looking at your work, it looks like you've humanized geometric shapes, softened the hard lines, and given them personality. Do you have a strong vision before you begin a piece?
Generally, all the ideas come from pictures, like a figurative thing that I draw on a piece of paper. And I look at it and go, oh, that looks kind of like an elephant. And then I render it. The name and the character, the idea and the narrative, all that stuff comes actually after. It's on recognition of it. It's not about coming up with a picture that fits a narrative. It's more like you see something, you go, oh, that looks like this, a troll or something like that, and then you make it. And I also refer to the drawing to the point where I leave the ambiguous part of the drawing in there. I don't try to round it off and make it more like the character. I usually just let it be like the way it is.
What was the first art project that you can remember making as a child?
The coolest thing was this. I was living in Seattle. I was a kid of about, I was probably 13 or 14, 13 maybe even 12. We just moved to Seattle when I was 12. And I was really into the Oregon Trail, and for some reason I loved Conestoga wagons, you know, the prairie schooner with the big wheel in the back and the small, and maybe it came from like watching westerns or something like that, but I loved that little wagon with the canvas canopy and the big wheels, and then being drawn by two horses, and having a family being all sort of self-contained in that. And I made a balsa wood model of it. So it had the yoke, the T, and this kind of a harness, and then the wheels turned and the yoke moved like this, and I used coat hangers for the rims. And my mom was so into it, she sewed me a canopy out of cotton, white cotton. So we put that thing, and then I had the little drawstrings, you know, and I pulled it in the front. And the connection is, for me, was that it was kind of like a foreshadowing of this sculpture I made, you know, later, much like a couple of years ago. I made the bovine, which was this giant sculpture that was, you know, it ended up being titled the bovine because I used the name of, you know, the cow. It's sort of, that was sort of the animal parallel, was the cow, but it was also basically a camper wagon. I didn't remember making that little Conestoga wagon until I was on the way down to this award ceremony in Tacoma. I was trying to come up with a way to tell a story about how my parents have always been so supportive of my art making. I remembered that whole piece. I remembered the Conestoga wagon, and, you know, like having your mother help you make your little art project, that's the first thing I remember making. I was also really into drawing Spider-Man. You know, I was a huge Spider-Man collector. He's really the only superhero amongst that whole set that was kind of a fall guy. The human side of his dual character is very superhuman. He's very, you know, he's always love-torn, and he has financial problems, and he's barely keeping it together. He's an orphan. He's haunted by this memory of being responsible for his Uncle Ben's death, and he's also kind of conflicted. You know, he has, you know, his superhero status is like he invented all of this stuff. He has powers and stuff, but he had it in a suit, and it's like tricky. He's out there and he's suddenly out of web fluid, you know, and that kind of thing. So it's not like he can fly around and do all the superhero stuff that a lot of the guys can do.
He's vulnerable.
Totally vulnerable.
So now what inspires you to work, or what motivates you to make art?
I don't really need any motivation at this point because I've got so much stuff to do. I mean, for me, the easiest answer would be like, okay, you have a show. You have a show in November. That's what, you know, that's instantaneously what makes me, okay, I'm gonna make art. You know, you just start making stuff for it.
Do you enjoy it still?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
But it does get, you know, I end up getting into a little bit of, like with this thing, you know, this is a really large project, and it's a commission. So I've never done public art. I've never done a commission on this size before. Commission has a timeline, it has a deadline, has a budget. And if lacking any deadline, you know, I would still make art. I always like the drawing aspect of it, and then I look at the drawings and choose like, oh, I'm gonna make a plaster relief out of that, or I'm going to make a really crazy painting out of that, using really thick oil or something. And then that part is sort of launches me into it, and then I'm doing it. And so I'm never at a loss for something to do, because I just have sketchbooks full of like drawings that I've never done anything with.
Do you think that the viewer understands the work the way you would like them to understand?
I think for the most part, I mean, you don't find out, you never talk to the people that don't understand it or don't appreciate it or don't like it. Those people see what you're doing and they take off, they turn around and walk away. No one ever comes up and goes, God, I hate that thing, or I don't understand that thing. So you only end up really corresponding or communicating with the people that see it. They go, oh, I know what that is. I have one of those in my neighborhood. And so I do hear from people that have that instant recognition, and they come up and tell me, like, oh my God, I know what that is, you know. And then, so I know it's true. I know it happens. When I see something in my sketchbook or in my drawings that is something that I want to make something from, I'm already sort of I'm already filtering out some of the stuff that would be less recognizable, because I see something that's sort of semi-recognizable, and it's because of a TV show or a cartoon, or it looks like a mailbox, or it looks like something that almost everyone has seen. And so I'm already acting as sort of like the first step in the filter, choosing things that would probably be more recognizable, because that's what makes me laugh about them, or that's what I like about them. I'm sort of an average person in a lot of ways. I've consumed a lot of the same pop culture that a lot of people have. The best thing about making art is it's sort of the lifestyle and that autonomy that you have. You end up having an overall perspective on things it's really liberating, it's really wide open. You could do anything with your time, you could do anything with your life, you could do anything with your mind. And I think the best thing about being an artist is the hours and the freedom to do and to respond and to, I mean, it's sort of a utopian idea. You get to make almost whatever you want, and someone would either show it or buy it or be interested in it. I mean, that's sort of ridiculous. An art career is sort of like, it's not even an open highway. It's like you're on the open sea. I do get really happy when every once in a while I'm coming in, I come in the studio, oh God, I'm so glad I get to do this today. But you know, there's other times when I come in and go, this is scary, I'm lost, and there's no one to turn to. You know, there's definitely a dark side to it.
Right, there's no map.
No, there's no hotline. You can't pick up the phone and go, help. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know where I am on this. You know, who's going to be, you have other artist friends and stuff, and they can come and you can do a studio visit, and you can get emotional reinforcements, but often you get your artist friends and they come over and they'll almost lead you astray. They'll say, oh, I know what you should do, and then they may be right about what you could do. It's as a problem-solving idea, but it might not be, you won't have time for it, or it'll totally disrupt your whole...
Right, because in the end, it's your decision.
Yeah, and you got to stick, you've sort of
Yeah.
drawn a line, and you're supposed to sort of stick to this line. A lot of art making, some of the trouble is that art, like I was saying before, it's such a wide open plane that, you know, you can go along a line a certain way, and all of a sudden, it's like hiking a trail, and all of a sudden there'll be a little fork that goes off this way, and you go, God, I could do that. And then you go, well, and then you see another one, and you see another one, and you really, at some point, you have to kind of trust that the initial impulse was, you just have to keep going in that way, because or, you know, rewind the tape and go back and try to do them all, but it gets to be really tricky.
How do you go about translating a drawing into a sculpture? How do you decide on the materials and on the scale?
All those questions are sort of bound into this one instant when you look at the drawing. I look at the drawing and I sort of see it, I see it as, there it is, it's on the wall, 2 feet high, it's made out of plaster. Somehow the way the drawing is rendered, it's saying that the first choice would be, if I was to make that right now, I would just do that. It would be a relief sculpture, and it would be like 2 inches deep, and it would be like 24 inches tall.
So you know almost immediately.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of calculations in that way. If the drawing looks like it's something that's really important and is loaded, and the name is really, the narrative of it is speaking to you, then you go, okay, that is worth maybe more time. Make it bigger, make it 3D, make it, and if it's sort of if you feel ambivalent about it, you think it's cute or funny, or it's like a one-liner, then you could say, well, I'll spend 2 days on that.
I want to talk a little bit about the music as well. So, do you prefer one to the other?
Music is, for me, more rewarding and it's more of a frontier. I guess I like it better because it's a group. Even though I write on my own and I write my own lyrics and they're kind of personal and sort of self-contained, when in the band, I present the song, I just start playing, you know, and my drummer and my bass player, they write their own parts. And occasionally they'll chip in as far as like the way we're gonna actually compose it, you know, construct the song, but generally, I just bring my part, they bring their parts, and we play live. A lot of my music endeavors have been kind of compromised by how much time I've had to put into art. You know, when I sing in public on stage through a mic with my band and have backups and stuff, it's like going to church in a way. You're opening up and you're sort of confessing and you're exposing and you're singing and you're celebrating. There's all these things that come into it that don't really come in the feeling that I have in the studio.
Do you like the process of recording, or do you like playing out more?
I like it all. You know, I have a whole record, 2 records worth of material right now that's been sitting on tape for almost 3 years, 4 years now, and it's just, I hate to admit it, but like it just went over New Year's, you know, my New Year's resolution, 4 in a row, same resolution. Get the next record out. Right. So this is 2013, and I hope to get it done this year.
Are you happy with your accomplishments?
I think I meet people that think that I've accomplished X, Y, and Z, and it's hard for me to see that. I feel fortunate right now because I'm sort of on the payroll right now of the people I'm working for this thing. So I'm sort of legitimately a professional artist right now, which is hard to get to for a lot of my friends. I mean, Seattle is not a very generous city when it comes to supporting its artists. It doesn't have the market. I'm not accusing anyone in particular, but it's a small market for a lot of talented people are trying to make a go of it, and there isn't a lot of money to support enough galleries, to support enough artists to stay here. So it's a tricky business. So I'm really fortunate to be able to make art sort of full time. I've gotten some awards and some grants, and I feel like I'm still totally in the trenches right now. So it's not like I've gotten to this other side of the rainbow. That cracks me up when I meet people that think that I'm at this. No, I'm satisfied, but it's just like I think people have the sense that I've arrived at some place and I'm still kind of like mostly nose down working.
If you could travel to any part of the world and work on art and music for several months or even a year, where would that be?
Probably London. The art scene is like second to none. It's civilized and also sort of has this stodginess to it, and it's also sort of, as an American, it's kind of exotic. Probably would be a great place to go for a year. I'm really sort of a art museum type artist. Go to museums and go to the Tate and go see modern shows, and that would be the best.
What's up and coming?
This whole year is going to be, I'm working on this wicker sculpture until probably the end of March, and then hopefully I'll get it done. I'll take it out to the foundry, and then and then I'll pass it off to the foundry, and then it's their responsibility to turn it into metal. I go to New Orleans for 3 weeks and make work for a group show, Orange County Museum. I have a solo show at the Hattie Ford Museum in Salem, and that's a solo show. So that's going to be comprehensive, mostly a lot of older stuff. And then the last room is almost the size of this studio. It will be all new, big page. 2013 is pretty much wiped out. Unless I can get ahead a little bit and then, do some recording and, make some stuff happen with the band. But we'll see. I squeeze in shows,
Whiting, thank you very much.
Oh yeah, sure.
It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for coming over.
Thanks
for the cake.
You're welcome.
I look forward to having it.